or you can just get a ticket, climb on a plane that's already been built, it's already run by somebody else, and it's already got a flight path, and you get there in 45 minutes. And that's what your ICOI is that you're getting into somebody's ecosystem that's already been built up. It's already there. They already have a need. They're all ready to go, and you're just jumping in. You just got to have the ticket. My man, Derek, how you doing, buddy?
Steve, I'm going very well, my friend. Yourself?
Dude, I'm excited to chat with you, man.
Likewise.
Referring marketing is one of those things that I think it's talked about so often, but it's not something that has really been perfected. And I think, everybody has a way of saying, I'm like, real estate agents are notorious for this. They always say this, that, at the bottom of their email, it says the best compliment is a referral. And they put that, and it always makes me vomit when I read it at the bottom, because it just feels so cringe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, look, it's really interesting. It's such a powerful lead generation strategy, but most businesses don't actually have a strategy or a discipline around it. I deal with a lot of small businesses, and you ask them who their ideal client is and who their ideal partner is, and they go into this demographic description of who their ideal client is, or I work with everybody.
Yeah, that's right. I work with everybody. That is my favorite one as well, because it means you work with nobody. It just means you hope somebody shows up in your door that kind of fits at least close to what you can do, and then let's just make it happen.
Yeah, yeah. Or your conversations are so broad and diffused, the marketplace doesn't realize you're actually talking to them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that definitely makes a lot of sense. And so when we look at referrals, and we look at referrals specifically, and I want to kind of hone in on just that itself. Why do you think that people who believe in referrals say this is the most important part of their business, but yet it also is the most underutilized strategy? Why do you think that is?
I guess there's a lot of shiny ball syndrome. It's like chasing the current trend and not sitting back. And by trend, I mean from a marketing perspective, what's everybody in the marketplace shouting about right now? And it's the referral marketing side of things is typically not sexy. Everybody understands referrals are the best leads. They convert faster. They convert at higher margins. They're actually better conversations to have because they're more of your people. So they're generally more fun to work with. But people typically don't take the time to sit down and be strategic about actually working a strategy into their marketing and sales process. So they do it's like a lot of things. They do a little bit of it, but they don't go deep enough for long enough to actually build a process into their current sales process or marketing process to get the result. But they're running around chasing the next big spray and pray marketing campaign strategy that goes out to thousands of cold leads that they probably can't even manage if they had a great conversion rate anyway, which they don't more often than not.
Well, I think some of the tactics that you talk about are things like connecting, communicating, collaborating, converting. And this is some of the verbiage that you use in the whole process of working with the framework of working with referrals. And what I want to talk a little bit about is kind of each of those a little bit, and then get a sense. But I think if we start at the very beginning of it, I think you do a really good job of defining profiles. And I think profiles, are one of the greatest things. You had this little diagram. I know you talked, there was, ICPs, and it's not a type of missile, IPs, IAPs, EPPs, UQQs, and ICOLs. And you have all of these different things. And we went through this, and I thought this was really good. And I'd love for you to kind of break it down again. So let's start talking about profiles.
Okay. So this whole concept of ideal profiles, connect, communicate, collaborate, and then time to value was really, just to give you a bit of backstory, was really about us sitting down as a business and going, okay, what do we do naturally, and what have we done naturally over 20, 30 years in different industries to build businesses with basically no ad spend? And okay, we've gone off and done some tech to make the implementation of that easier, but having a conversation around that and adding value to people so that they can have a framework that they can take away and DIY. We went, okay, we need to have a framework for having the conversation, And then what does that framework look like? And that's where the referral marketing formula came about. How do we have a very structured conversation with people that makes it easy to understand and then easy for them to focus on the implementation? However they're going to go and implement, whether it's their CRM or whether it's some specific tech that they're using, or whether it's a piece of their business card and a piece of paper. Doesn't matter, because you've got this formula framework that you can implement on the run or implement with technology.
Yeah, and I think that's extremely, and I think that's so important when people build out technology offerings. Is it's an old Bostonian phrase, don't pave a cow path. And, at first you have to understand what the system and the model is before you start to make it more efficient. And technology just doesn't solve something unless you solve the actual system of understanding of what is getting done first and what is the best way of getting it done, and then implementing technology to do that. And I think by creating this taxonomy around what you've done, I think it's a good start for sure.
Yeah. And I don't know about your audience of mild profanity, but I've got a couple of analogies around that. It's like, you can get a piece of Ferrari as a technology, but if you drop a bag of fertilizer in the passenger seat, all you're doing is just moving shit fast, right? So it's the old CRM analogy of crap in, crap out, right? So, you can have all the sexy whiz bang tech, but if the principles and the tactics that you're overlaying over that are not right, well, you're going to be frustrated with the result, and you're blaming the technology when it's really your strategy or your message.
That makes total sense.
Yeah,
so let's get into it. Let's get into talking about defining the ICP and start really flushing that out.
Yeah, well, do you mind if I scribe on the whiteboard?
Yeah, man, let's make that happen, man.
They'll keep me on track. So basically, IXP stands for 4 different profiles. And then we have the connect, communicate, and collaborate process. So all of this is interconnected, and it basically creates a flywheel marketing process for you. But it starts with understanding who your ideal customer profile is. Because once you know who you're talking to, what's important to them, what the problems you solve, or the opportunities you create matter, then you can have a conversation with the marketplace that resonates, and you attract more of the right people. Once you know who that is.
When we look at that, and I think about the idea of, whenever we have guests come on a podcast, it's one thing that's a hard thing to flush out is figure out who that is. And, we'll have somebody come on and they want to just talk to everybody. And when you realize that when you're talking to everybody, you're actually talking to nobody. And rather than doing that, it's honing in and saying, no, there is the one person in the room that every word that you're saying is going to feel like it's dropping off of just liquid gold onto the table. And it's that beautiful moment. And so if you can really craft so that one person's going to feel that way, well, there might be 2 or 3 or 4. Now your job is just to get as many of those people into the room who are going to say that this is actually liquid gold.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the big challenge for most businesses in not really honing in on their ICPs is that they feel that they're niching down too much, and therefore they're restricting too much of the market. And ultimately, they can't serve all of the market anyway. And the big misconception around really getting clear on your ideal customer profiles is the fact that you're not restricted from dealing with everybody. You're just not going after everybody. So you'll pick up other business that's outside of your ideal customer profile. And you're not really, we always suggest that you have 3 ICPs, right, that you're focusing on from a marketing perspective. And then other business will come, but the business you're really driving is your best clients, the people you really want to work with, and the people that are going to be the best fit for you as a business to serve. It makes your business more fun.
Absolutely. And as the customer is coming in, it gives a little bit of an elevated status if you know that you're the person that they exactly want to do business with. That it's not they're just trying to do business with everybody. BMW speaks to BMW
enthusiasts.
Enthusiasts. I mean, they don't try to talk to people who love Maserati. They talk to people who love BMWs, and that's their shtick. And so when you show up, you're like, I'm a BMW enthusiast. I know what everything means. They speak the same language.
Yeah, I heard a really good analogy around that, and something similar. Probably just shows the diversity a little bit more. Don't try and sell a Yamaha to a Harley Davidson enthusiast. It's not going
Yeah.
to work.
No, not
They're
at
both
all.
motorbikes, but you're never selling a Yamaha or a Suzuki
Well,
to a
I don't know.
Harley.
I think a Harley guy would not call a Yamaha a motorcycle. That's just me. But
Yeah. Well, there's a rabbit warren we can go.
although I had a Honda VFR 800 or 850, so I didn't
Yeah.
have a Harley. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got our ICP. Let's build off the ICP and move on to the next level.
Right. So once you've got your ICP, you can then really target your ideal partner profile. And having and building partnerships is, we have three different analogies we use: one-to-one referrals, which is really client-based or direct business-based, and then one-to-more, which is your partners, because they've already congregated a relationship. They're already a trusted supplier or advisor to your ideal client. So when they say, go talk to Steve, that person goes and talks to Steve, and there's borrowed trust into that conversation, which makes that introduction to you and your initial engagement so much easier. So we see partnerships as the one-to-more strategy. They're going to consistently refer to you while you're delivering on your promises, and you're protecting their reputation, their status, and their brand with their clients.
Yeah, and this one I'm such a firm believer in this as a person who owns a mortgage business. Our ideal partners are obviously working with high integrity real estate agents who are not looking just to shove real estate down people's throat, but get people into the right homes or into the right investments to do things not just for the short term, but for the long term. And so our ICP is, obviously the end buyer of the home. Our IPP is that real estate agent who is really going to build that relationship, have them go shop for homes, and we're going to work in collaboration to bring them in, but they're going to refer us through a partner in that whole process. And because we both have an integrity is the centerpiece, and we both have integral benefit in the decision of the client making in the end.
Yeah, exactly. And then so to unpack that a little bit further, or your ICP's multiple within the real estate industry going to be very different based on the target audience, entry-level homeowners, versus somebody looking to buy in the Hollywood Hills versus somebody that's looking to downsize and go into a condo because they're retiring or whatever. So you got different agents and different partnerships based on demographic ICP.
Absolutely. Yeah, that in that you're absolutely right. Each real estate agent will have their own specific area or demographic. Yeah.
But that ideal client of yours has a whole bunch of products, services, and advisors that they're using. So coming back to your homeowner analogy, I used to work in the financial services industry for 20 odd years. And so we would partner with accountants, other financial services people, mortgage brokers, lawyers, all those sorts of people, because they all had our ideal client. They're all transacting in different ways. And there was complementary services that we provided to make sure the client was looked after from every different provider and they're getting the right advice. Yeah, it's once you know who that person is that you're looking to serve, it makes it then very easy to understand who else are they surrounding themselves with, and then going and looking at having a partnering conversation with those vendors, suppliers, advisors.
Well, I think this rolls back to where you were talking at the beginning around the idea that there are ways to be able to acquire clients without having to spend money on advertising. And if you can build relationships with people who also have relationships with your perfect client, you can create this one to many spider web of relationships that you don't have to actually give the money to Google or to Facebook or whatever, that you can pass that on in profit to your shareholders, maybe being yourself, or you can pass it on to the offering and building a better offer for your client, or pass it on into some sort of partner incentive if that's the way that your business operates. And so the ability to be able to have that one to many gives you so much more scalability in being able to reach into your market, and especially if it's a partnership, not just a pass through.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what gives you that consistency of lead flow.
Yeah.
And it also sets you up to then go, okay, who's your ideal affiliate partner? Because the interesting thing for most businesses, they don't think about all of the needs. So coming back to this point, they don't think about all of the needs, products, and services that their client is using, that they could actually be value adding to that client relationship by solving that problem, selling another product to that client. And the best thing about affiliate products, and this is really poorly understood by most SMB, SME businesses, is you don't have to create the product. You don't have to service the product. You don't have to deliver the product, but you can solve the problem for the client and be paid a commission on solving that problem by the product owner or the vendor. Now, people go, oh, commissions, but it's how Microsoft works. They've got 180,000 odd, don't quote me on the number, but somewhere in the vicinity of 180,000 partners. They're all advising around Microsoft products and selling in Microsoft products and picking up some revenue share from that product sale. Good, smart business, but small businesses don't think about that, and you don't have to be in technology to be doing that. There's lots of products and services you can collaborate with another supplier vendor to deliver into your client base as an upsell, cross-sell. And you and
Absolutely.
I both know
I mean, the way to solve that is just through disclosures. If you disclose you are being paid as part of this transaction, you give clarity in that process, then the customer knows the direction that you're going. There's nothing worse than if you're like, oh no, deal with this guy, then you find out that your only reason why you're telling them that is because you're getting paid for it. And again, in order to sell something, you have to, if you're authentic and you're a good, genuine salesperson, in order to believe in what you're selling, you have to believe in what you're selling. In order to sell what you are, what you have to believe in it. And to me is it comes down to being authentic with it, just being honest. And if you're an affiliate with somebody, I'm an affiliate. If you're in a partner in the go high level space, I'm going to bring up this one. Go high level space. There's so many companies out there. This is our CRM and it's all white labeled and all this other stuff. And they act like as if they were a software company. Well, you didn't build the software. The software is go high level. And you can see all these companies that were just putting on this facade of being a software company. You're an integrator. And there's so much value in saying that you're actually an integrator for that software, because that software is the one that's doing all the work and you're adding the value to the process.
Yeah. And so, adding the value to the product as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And so the one-to-many strategy, that we rank these as, and my colors are not showing up, so forgive me here. We rank these as a one-to-one strategy. This is a one-to-more strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see the model as a one-to-many.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fourth in the formula is the ICOI, and that's your centers of influence. So if these people have already congregated, again, a network of your ideal clients, they have a trusted relationship with your ideal clients, and they're able to get a message to market in collaboration with you. Let's refer to it as like a co-branding or cooperative campaign. And what we're doing here, Steve, is you're an ideal center of influence for me and our product, and we're having a conversation. And if you like the conversation, you have an audience that you're going to expose this conversation to. So that's a one-to-many strategy of finding out who are the influencers within your ideal client base, because they have their trust, they have their ear. How do you then add value? This entire process is about not thinking about what you're going to get out of the transaction. It's about how do you add value at a product or service level, and then how do you add value to these people's businesses? And when you can demonstrate that and deliver on it, then that's when you get the engagement.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's the idea of, if you want to get somewhere, you can either go out, get your wrench, get a hammer, and go out and build a plane. And after 20 years, you've finally got the plane. You test it a couple times, crashes, build a couple more, and then you can finally take off and then go across to New York City. Or you can just get a ticket, climb on a plane that's already been built, it's already run by somebody else, and it's already got a flight path, and you get there in 45 minutes. And that's what your ICOI is that you're getting into somebody's ecosystem that's already been built up, it's already there, they already have a need, they're already ready to go, and you're just jumping in. You just got to have the ticket.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the clarity around this, around your ICP, that then allows you to have a great strategy to connect. And this is all based on the and we spoke about this prior to coming on camera, you really have to have a principle-based business that then forms your strategy, and your strategy informs your tactics, and then it's about action. It's about discipline and consistency, as opposed to, just a big bang effort and then dwindle off and then don't execute on something again, right? It's about consistency, let the formula work, let the process work, test, measure, iterate, innovate, all of those buzzwords, But so we go, know, like, and trust is the principles that we build everything on. When you've got that as a foundation around your philosophy and model, you then start to look at what's your strategy, because that informs how you connect, and then what are the tactics. So this is your message to market, or your communication, and then collaboration leads to conversion. All right. So strategy, tactics, and this is your actions. When you get those three things right, and you get your message to market right, everything else basically flows. You're talking to the right people. You're talking to them in the right way. You're talking to them in a way that is about them and the value that you add to them and the problems you solve for them or the opportunities you create for them. It's not product-based at the start. The product-based conversation comes when you're going into discovery and making sure you're even the right supplier for that client. And if you're
I think so many salespeople get it wrong when they go into, talking, even marketers get it wrong when they go into talking about a product. They talk about, what does the product, what does the product do? As in, does it drive fast? Does it give a nice view? Does it allow me to record my podcast? Gets in all the things that it does. But it's not really about the benefits of what it does. Like when it drives fast, how does that make you feel? When it has that long view, does it give you peace or does it give you tranquility? When it's recording your podcast, does it give you a voice so that people can hear you? So people don't buy things because of what things do. It buys because of the benefit of what things people do. So in other words, most people fall in love in talking about the idea of the labor of the task. I see this all the time in the software sales. It's like, here's where you click on this button here, and here's where you click on that button there. And it's like, so what?
Yeah.
Like, what does it matter? Like, if I click on that button, what does that give me? Okay, now you're talking about what matters.
Yeah. And just to sort of take that a little step further as well, when you're talking about benefits, right? So you're talking about the benefits of what the thing is going to, or the action is going to give you, but then you talk about it in a tangible way around the expanding out in the tangible outcome of why they should do it. Yeah, this is the benefit, but this is the why you should do it. And then coming back to your point, how do you make them feel in that process is the intangible. So having the language around the intangible aspects that you can influence, or better communicate rather than influence, better communicate so that they really understand what you're doing. But then it's about your intentions as well, right? Coming back to principles, it's about your intentions, because you can have the right product and, the right benefits. But if you're going into the conversation just to sell them something because it's your KPIs and your Q1 results that you're worried about, they can feel that. So it doesn't matter what you say, because how you're making them feel is like, you're not really doing this for me, you're doing this for you. When
the salesman says, look, we got to make this sale happen because it's end of the quarter numbers, that to me is, okay, we've lost the connection there. Yeah. Right there. You got it with discount.
Yeah. So, well, that's discovery.
Discovery. I thought you said discount. I was like, that's when the discounts come out and it's when it's wrong.
Yeah, no, exactly. But in the discovery phase, that's when you really hone in on whether the client has a problem or whether you have an opportunity that resonates with them. Because if they're not the right client, trying to sell them something, it just doesn't work. If they are the right client, they will buy because you are delivering real value, and they will buy. But at this discovery point, it's like, well, I can't help you right now, But this is where your partnership ecosystem comes in, because you go, I know somebody who can solve the problem that's important to you right now. My problem might be important. My solution might be important to you later, but it's not important to you right now. Problem you need to solve right now. Let's say Steve can solve that problem. I'm going to connect you up with a partner called Steve who can solve your big burning problem right now. And then if I can help you later, you've maintained that relationship, you've added value, and you can circle back. And
when we talk about the realtors, the great one is a lot of times realtors, when they call, they're like, are you ready to buy and sell? And you're like, no. Do you know anybody who's ready to buy and sell? No. And if what they would have done is started the conversation like, hey, Bob, how you doing? How's the house going? What are the number of things you're working on? Well, I really want to get my driveway done. Hey, Bob, if I refer you to a really good contractor to take a look, maybe a couple of them, would that be super useful for you to maybe get to know, a couple different paving companies in the area? Oh my God, a couple of, absolutely. I'm a real estate agent. As a real estate agent, I didn't know who's the best in the neighborhood. So let me give you at least 3 that you can take a look at, and you just let me know. You don't have any obligation to deal with them, and frankly, I don't even get paid from them. Maybe you do. Then you say, I do get paid from them. I get paid from these people who refer them. And why? Because I refer them so much business. And why do I refer them so much business? Because they do a good job. So if you do it, disclose it. If you're not getting paid, disclose it too. But number 1 is call and just refer them, because they have a problem that everybody has a problem they're always solving today. Like they're always working on something. It might not be you, but it could be somebody else.
Yeah. And to your point in that real estate analogy, as a home owner, my biggest fear is going out and finding a contractor, because you only need to turn on any current affair news story, local story about, the builder that's, or you're at a grill, I think you call it over there. We call them a barbecue here in Australia. You're standing around the grill and you're having a beer. And
although the Traeger's really taken off here. Is the Traeger taken off for you?
The what?
Smokers. Like everybody's moving to smokers instead of barbecues.
Yeah, smokers. Yeah, big thing over here. It's on my purchase radar.
I bought one of my clients a barbecue as their closing gift once. And then 2 years later, I was offended because he goes, hey, Steve, I'm not going to use your barbecue anymore. I got a smoker. I got this Traeger thing. I'm like, oh, God, are you serious? You're not going to use it? I felt offended until I went to his place and I had some meat. And I was like, oh, my God, this is amazing. I wasn't offended at all.
No, but I guess it's right tool, right solution. If I'm coming home I'm coming home on a Thursday night and I want to grill a steak, the smoker's not doing it for me, because you've got to prep it and just fire it up, burn it.
Done. Yeah. And making me hungry.
But coming back to the tangible and the intangible around your analogy, is my biggest fear as a homeowner is getting a contractor that stiffs me, doesn't turn up, does a dodgy job, or overcharges me. So you as a real estate agent, taking that pain, that concern away from me and giving me a couple of choices and options. Now I'm talking about you at the barbecue in a really positive way, right? Because you've de-risked the decision for me and made that decision easier. But back to your point, make sure you're recommending good suppliers, because if your reputation gets burned, if you refer people who are not reputable, not doing the right job, not following up and delivering on their promises.
Yeah. Well, I think you've got to know what you know, and I think you got to know what you don't know. And if you don't know, just say you don't know. And that's way better than promoting somebody that, I've had so many times where people will refer somebody to me and they're terrible. And they're like, well, I didn't know. I knew him from a friend. And you're like, well, why would you refer him?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of 2 cents of vetting before you say that, or at least say, I don't know anything about this person, but maybe take a look, and at least the guards up a little bit more. Because I think what you said earlier on, which was something that was really important, is there's some, and if you said it so elegantly, there's a earned referral and
earned trust, was it?
Yeah, there's like an earned trust. There was you said it really good. I will have to look back on the list, but it was on the podcast. But it's a transferred value that happens.
Transfer of trust. The referral process is a transfer of trust.
Yeah, that's right.
If I trust you, and my experience with you is that if I find somebody who I think is the right person for you and I refer that across, you've got borrowed trust from me. And likewise, if that person has come pre-vetted. And back to your point, if I see somebody that I've met for the first time that I think just has a bang up business model, an idea and a concept, to your point, I'll make that referral, but I'll qualify it. Hey, I've just met this guy. Think you really should have a conversation with him, but just remember, you need to do your own due diligence around the engagement.
Yeah, and that's very different than saying Bob's built 15 of my houses and every single house that he's built has been flawless. Now, that's not to say everything always goes perfect for everybody, but I can say my experience has been flawless. And if that's the truth, there's nothing wrong with giving that referral.
100%. And that's just a much higher level, higher value referral.
Yep.
And to your point, basically some of your best service providers are the guys that actually are there when because stuff will go wrong. It's how do they show up when stuff goes wrong can be their biggest value. It's like this, if you work in this particular area or arena, shit's going to go wrong. It's just, that's the way that it works. But how do you then handle that? How do they handle that process can be more valuable than their upfront sell.
Yeah, I think when you look at people behaviors patterns, when life is easy, it's very easy to be an amazing human being. But when you look at things are difficult, I think that's when people's true character shows up. And that's when you see really what kind of integrity they have. So if something goes wrong and then somebody's able to resolve that, that's a higher degree of trust that I have in that individual. Then when something just went so smooth every single time, and it's like, okay, that was great. Was I the lucky one? And what happens if something would have gone wrong? And it's always interesting to see that. And if you go through somebody where, that's not to say that if everything goes perfect, complain about it, but that's to say that, when it goes wrong and they fix it, that's a sign of strong integrity.
Yeah. And it is. And we use that as a really interesting filtering process when we're running webinars. So, you do the standard, who is this for? Who is it not for? And we go like, if you're running a good business, you don't have to be brilliant. If you're running a good business, right? You're a good person, you deliver on your promises, and you show up if something goes wrong, then you're a referable business. We switch to the next flight. If you're not delivering on your promises, then you're not running a good business and you're not delivering on your promises, then you have other things in your business that you need to go and fix before you are likely to be a referable business. And that process internally, people know when they're not cutting the mustard, so to speak, right? They know when they're not up to scratch. And you can see on the webinars, their eyes glaze over because you lose them at that point because they're opting out.
Well, but to be fair, some of the people are just maybe too damn hard on themselves as well, where,
that's another problem to
their
fix.
standards are so high that they're like, oh my God, he's talking about me. And you're like, look, you've been 99.9% perfect, but they're thinking about that 0.1%. And they're like, but there was the 0.1% that I let that person down. And so sometimes you have to put things in perspective on both ways.
You're a good point. Perfectionism kills more ideas and more businesses and damages more people's careers than iterating through trial and error and allowing things to not go perfectly and then improve upon it the next time. It's that old 80% rule, isn't it? Right?
Absolutely. Now, one of the things I know you talked a little bit about is the what, the why, and the how. Mm-hmm. And I want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So we basically look at everything through 6 questions, right? Who, what, why, how, where, and when. And you can just jumble those around in any scenario, and you can use any one or more of those combinations to drill down into a strategy and create a process, right? Mm-hmm. So when we talk about tactics, we talk about the what, the why, and the how from a customer's point of view. So we try to always look at everything from what's in it for them, and why is that important to them, and then how are we getting that message to them. So it's all about them, because our ability to grow our business is purely a result of solving other people's problems or creating new opportunities for those people, right? So if we always make it about the value that we deliver, and part of the formula is the time to value. So the more value you deliver in the shortest possible time frame increases the speed of this know, like, and trust process. So you get to a constructive conversation faster, right? And that comes back to what's your offer? Why is it important to them? And then how are you delivering it? And as you know, your offer is pivotal. And then if things are not going right, there's a couple of things that you need to look at. It's your message to market, or you're driving the wrong traffic, right? So you're attracting the wrong client profile into your funnel because your advertising's not honed into your ideal customer profile. So you might have a fantastic offer, but if you're driving the wrong traffic at that offer, doesn't matter how good your copy is, how good your offer is, it's not going to convert, right? And this all comes back to the what, why, and the how.
Yeah.
Without going down a massive, deep rabbit warren on that
No,
one.
I think that's good. And, one of the things that I think is really important that a lot of people, when they're testing marketing, they test too wildly, and they don't respect the benefit of consistency. And so why is consistency really a cornerstone in building trust?
Well, people know what they're going to get, right? When I refer you, I know experience that person is going to get because it's been the experience that I've had from you consistently. Taking that to a process perspective, if I show up consistently and coming back, say, using split testing as an analogy, making small tweaks, if you're on the right track, small tweaks can pull big levers. Now, if we use split testing a headline as an example, you see which one converts higher, and then you do that consistently and then measure something else against that until you find something that resonates more and converts better, and then you move to that. But it's an iterative process as opposed to try this, try that, make big wholesale changes, but not really understand the one thing in your original process that if you fix that one thing has a massive impact on everything else that you're doing.
Yep. Yeah. And if you akin it to driving a car, if you're taking a steering wheel and you're making massive shifts left and massive shifts right, it's not going to be a comfortable drive, and it's certainly not going to get you there faster. And, so the idea is to make those small tweaks, see what happens, make a small tweak, see what happens. I was sitting in a mastermind with Gary Keller, who's founded Keller Williams. And that was it was such an important thing. The two things that we just hit there. Number one, small changes make big results. Like as you said, small tweak pulls big levers. And then the second thing, as he says, is the intensity comes through consistency. And so the idea is that consistency is what's going to get you to the goal line. If you're always showing up in the same way, if you're always showing up so that people know when you show up, when I go to the office, I wear orange pants. And every time I go to the office, I got orange pants. And people are like, oh, you always got the orange pants on. I'm like, yeah. And they probably think I have one pair of orange pants. I've got I think 10 pairs of orange pants, the exact same one. And it's because it's dramatic and I wear them and it's consistency. But that little bit of consistency makes a difference. It actually matches my background back here and matches my logo and my one thing. So there's a consistent brand around there. So it just creates a consistency around it. I'm Dutch. That's orange, so it just all kind of I'm not tall and blonde, but can't have it all. And, I fit on planes better. That's what I say. And I consistently fit on planes better than tall Dutch people.
Yeah.
Or maybe I got to sit in the lying down first class, but even the lying down first class, I fly first class a bunch of times this year and with the lie down beds, and I wouldn't even want to be tall on those ones because my feet already feel cramped on those lie down beds. So if I was a little bit taller, it'd be way worse. It doesn't matter which class you're sitting in. My height matters. It's way better.
Yeah. Well, my height becomes a can I get on this ride at the amusement park issue, right? Yeah, the kid's always looking to.
You got the Mel Gibson height too, or?
Yeah, well, I'm relatively short. Not super short, but relatively short. Particularly compared to when I'm walking around the US, it's noticeable.
Yeah, it's noticeable. Yeah,
there's a lot of tall people over there.
Well, it's great because the camera angle makes you look tall, so we're good. Then let's talk about tactics and let's talk about just effective tactics that people can use to be able to implement some of the things that we've talked about.
That is such a it's a great question, but it's a very broad question, right? So your tactics, we've talked about a lot of big strategies. So what I want to do here is maybe pull it back to small business in local that are not doing masses, maybe can't afford to be doing a whole lot of inbound paid advertising. They're out there doing the hustle every day. They're going to multiple networking events. They're going to industry events. They're in their local chambers of commerce. The tactics in those environments are completely different to the tactics that you're doing online, to the tactics you're doing somewhere else. So I think for a broader audience, if we focus on that, it's about going into those networking events intentionally and having a strategy for how you're showing up, whether it's online, whether it's in person, breakfast, lunches, or dinners, think BNI as an example, being very clear and intentional about the outcomes that you're looking for. If you're going to, there's a cost to business networking, and the cost is your time, and the opportunity cost is the other things you could be doing if all you're doing is going there for breakfast, cup of coffee and socializing. There's nothing wrong with that. We need that as small business owners, but we can get that aspect as well as a better outcome from a referral marketing perspective, from a partnering perspective. And that comes back to being clear on your tactics for your ideal client and your tactics for your ideal partner.
Yeah.
Right? Because a small local business, they can use affiliate partnerships, absolutely, and it's high value to them, but they're probably not looking for influencers. That's wrong of me to say that. Their definition of center of influence is not the Steve Hamian that's going out to tens of thousands of people. It's the local politician. It's the local accountant. The centers of influence are the people that have the relationship in their geography, right? So,
yeah. If you're the local painter, you're not looking to reach, a channel that's going to cover somebody who talks to somebody in the UK. You're looking to reach that person who's going to hit next door. I mean,
you've got a geographic boundary.
Does it hurt? It doesn't hurt, but it's not going to convert into immediate profit for your business. And when you go to the event, like if you literally just took those 4 things and before you go to an event and said, who's my ICP and how did they present themselves? Who's my ideal ICP ideal client profile? Who's my ideal partner profile? In other words, who would be good? If I'm a painter, is there a good general contractor there's going to be? Maybe a good architect, maybe good interior designers, like who are going to be there and how am I going to network those? And who are my good affiliates? So these are maybe other painting companies that will refer me, that kind of a thing, or maybe sub me out or whatever it would be. And center of influence might be the local chamber leader, or it might be the local, head of the union or whatever it is that helps drive business for you.
Yeah.
And if you could try to map out what each of those are, and then be intentional about going to events where they congregate, and then making sure that you're interfacing with them, that's going to drive your value.
Yeah, and not be that person that goes, here's my card, this is what I do. Do you want to buy from me? It's like, don't try and sell to the person in front of you. Their network's far more valuable to you than that individual. And having a conversation that's not about selling to them, if you are the right provider for that person standing in front of you, they will be led to buy from you at the right time in the right way.
I would clarify. I would say always be selling, but selling doesn't mean pushing, and selling doesn't mean closing, and selling doesn't mean demonstrating.
Yes.
You wrote a great word up on the board, which I misread the first time because I'm not wearing my glasses, but you read very first. Yeah, it's all good. But the word you wrote on the board was discovery. And the first step of any sales process is discovery. So why don't you just spend some time in discovery? And in fact, in sales, most of your time should be spent in that discovery, in that probing phase where you're just learning about the client. And you're just learning everything about it. And maybe they're not a client, but maybe you're learning about their network. Maybe you're just learning. Like a lot of times, you're just going to talk to somebody. You might walk away and go, I just learned something. Huh. Well, you've just grown as an individual. Check mark. I just got something, which is amazing. You've just walked away with some knowledge. And the one thing that we can make and lose money, but knowledge is one of those things that you keep and you take with you. And that's an amazing thing. And so if you spend that time in that discovery, you're going to find out all the different opportunities that are sitting right in front of you.
Yeah. And it's a really good and interesting observation. And in that discovery process, this is where your partner network becomes so valuable to you. I used to work for a large managed service provider, and I used to work for a scale-up SaaS in the enterprise space. And you're looking at incumbent vendors might have a 30 contract with that client, you've got to wait 24 months in that relationship cycle before you're even on the radar for being able to be considered as an alternative vendor. So what are you doing with those key people in those 24 months? Because you can only ask how the kids are going, how the golf's going, how the fishing's going so many times before that gets really boring. So with a quality partner network, you can be solving other problems for your target account connection over those 24 months with a trusted network, and you are now a valued advisor at the point of time that they're now going into that buying window.
Yep.
So I think, these big ticket long-term sales cycles, people that do this partnershiping thing really well stand out in those networks.
Yeah, when you look at somebody like Amazon, Amazon has got this figured out really well. And because they know who their ICP is, now, frankly, they could legitimately say everybody, and they know who their partners are, and they know who their affiliates are, and they know their centers of influence. And you can see how they connect with each of those. Now, some might say they've disconnected from some and connected more with others. That's a whole different discussion. I had a podcast on that with the Amazon guy. Check out one of my earlier episodes on that one. But the idea is they know each of those, and you can clearly see how they build relationships around that. And if Amazon is doing it, you should probably do it too.
Yeah, exactly. And to your point, people think, well, small business goes, well, I'm not Amazon. No, but the principles and the strategies and the tactics are the same. You just need to take those and make them your own for your industry and your business where you're at, but they still apply, right?
Yep. Well, I mean, Amazon, they said one of the things that's most important for them is Bezos was on a podcast with Lex Friedman's podcast. And he said the biggest thing is making decisions quickly. So if a big company, the number one thing is about making decisions quickly, they're saying, I want to operate like a nimble organization, a smaller organization, and make decisions quickly. And so small organizations need to learn and say, is that how we need to be operating as well as a smaller organization? And so both can look across the pond and say, does this make sense? And learn from each other. I think it's definitely something of value, because if the big organization doesn't look to the up and comers, they're going to be taken out just like Blockbuster was.
Yeah, exactly. And I've had that conversation a couple of times this week using the Kodak analogy, right? Particularly around AI. So businesses, AI is here, right? It's not coming. It's been coming for a long time. It's now on the mass market radar, and the horse is bolted. It's coming at us. So, you can either understand it and take advantage of it because everyone knows that it's here, or you can have your Kodak moment and actually have the technology available to you and do nothing with it and disappear, right? So,
well, it's interesting. I mean, if you look at right now, I've got this camera here, and this camera that I'm using is an AI generated camera. It'll follow me around and do certain things. A lot of the cutscenes that we do from the podcast is done using AI. A lot of the cleaning is done using AI. And some of the stuff when we were looking at our scripts and our preamble and stuff is done using AI. So in this moment right now, you are, as part of listening to this podcast, you're benefiting from the value of AI, and you have no idea that you're benefiting from it. It just looks like a really great conversation. It is a really great conversation, but it is being backed by, a lot of technology.
Yeah. And it's been made that way because you've taken the time to set up the systems, processes, and frameworks to leverage AI. And by the way, there is no digital twinning used in this production.
Says the robot.
But I think just on that personal branding and turning up authentically and being able to do it effectively without a huge amount of effort is a big small business advantage that they just need to take a little bit of time to understand how to get to that point, and then the rest is easy. And it's their big advantage because personal brand and authenticity is a big part of the trust economy. The trust economy, in my opinion, is the next trend.
Yeah,
we've got
absolutely. Well, it's funny because the trust, the trust economy, I'll call it sometimes a twist economy, because sometimes it's about trust and sometimes it's about a twist. And, you trust the moment until there's a twist, and then the twist is what makes you pay attention. And so sometimes you can build that trust, and then you build a little bit of a twist, and then you give some impact. And so, I do that all the time with AI, where, I'll have podcasts that are out there that completely AI. At the very end, it'll tell you this whole podcast was AI. And they don't realize it until the very end. It was a completely automated synthetic podcast. But then the twist comes at the end saying, guess what? This was all done by AI.
Yeah, dramatic.
Which again, I guess throws out trust too. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it can turn both ways, right? It's like anything. You talk about twist. You can have a twist of lemon in your vodka soda, or you can twist your knee and blow your ACL, right? There's all sorts of twists.
Why did you have to bring that up again? Why did you have to, I just had knee surgery. You had to bring that up.
Sorry, man.
It hurts. It hurts. If I had feelings, that would bother me.
As long as you're on the road to recovery.
Man, I'm already choking people in jiu-jitsu. I'm good. And yeah, got to get back into the gym. Metrics. The one thing we haven't talked about is metrics. What are some metrics that you think people really need to look at when it comes to referral marketing?
Well, this is where the action thing comes in, right? So I'm gonna fall back to small business owners, because you've got a lot of business owners. They drive the Canadian economy. They drive the US economy. They're the biggest part of the Australian economy by volume. So I sort of want to focus on those guys for a little bit, because they get it tough and they've got to do the most with the least. So it really comes down to, can I have your question again? Because I ran down a rabbit warren. The ADHD took me to left and I need to come back to right.
KPIs, metrics.
KPIs, yes. So strategy, coming back to the strategy and the tactics. What are the things for your business that are going to move the needle? And then how do you show up consistently for them? And so a lot of businesses are out there doing this event, that event, in person, online. They're creating connections all over the place, and they don't have a single process or strategy to measure the success. And then be able to, from a referral marketing strategy, be able to follow up. So track, manage, and follow up those processes, to the point where I had a conversation this week where the person said, I get lots of different referrals from all over the place. I can't track them or remember where they're coming from. So I don't follow them up, because if the referral's genuine, they will chase me. The other side of the transaction's actually sitting there going, I'm sure that person will chase me. Nobody gets followed up, right? So it's creating some consistency around the process. So if businesses are running around doing all of these disconnected events and they've got all this activity going on, they need to bring it into a single pane of glass, right? The reality is CRMs are super powerful, but for that front end process in a person-to-person engagement, CRM misses all this data, all this interaction, all this activity. So how do you create a system and a process around all of your networking that brings it into one single view for you in a way that you can consistently follow up on? And then what are the activity things that you need to do consistently? Well, I need to show up to my metrics. I need to show up to 2 networking events in person each week. Now, do I need to go to those 2 events to get leads? Absolutely not. We've got a referral partnership. Do I need to do that to stay current with the small business community and what they're doing, right? And it's good for me to get out from behind the screen. Then it's like, right, so I'm doing those 2 networking events. I need to do at least 1 online networking event, and I'll go to different ones, again, just to see what people are doing, but also to find my next ideal partner, right? So I've got those 2 weekly activities with a metric of 2 and 1. Now, am I showing up and doing that? If I'm doing that consistently, then what am I getting from a customer referral? So somebody referring people to me. And then what am I getting as far as introductions to new partners or connections with new partners? And the thing in that comment is we advocate for 3 pillars of traffic. Outbound, go hunt business. Inbound, if you can afford it, get advertising in, do it properly if it's right for you, but have some sort of inbound strategy, whatever that looks like. And then referral marketing. And we use actually this formula. We use it as both an outbound and an inbound strategy.
Yeah, I think I would probably play that. To me, I would play it in completely the reverse. If that was 1, 2, and 3, I'd put the referral as number 1. And, with my mortgage agents, I always teach them, go for referrals first. Like you could go outbound, just go call and knock on doors or do whatever you want, and great. Or you can spend some money on advertising, great. But there's all this low hanging fruit. Like it's going to fall on the ground and rot if you just don't catch it and work it. Or it's going to fall in somebody else's basket and they're going to go work it. So why don't you just go for the referrals first? And the referrals to me just seem like the easiest thing to possibly hit. And why not build out a referral network? And that I would put as the top of the list, 100%.
Well, I appreciate you for doing that. I was trying to not upplay or overstate the value of what we do as a business. So thank you for making that observation. I appreciate it.
But it's the truth. It is the truth. And you know, it's funny. I was at a Keller Williams again. I keep on praising Keller Williams. Why? I'll just put it out there. I love Keller Williams. I think it's a great organization. I can't say enough of good things about it. I wish they would teach courses outside of real estate because I think a lot of their business acumen is so, it can be so much applied to many different industries. But the one thing that they said so many people spend so much stupid time and money on going out to talk to people they don't know, and they keep on forgetting about the people that they do know. And rather than doing that, just go and spend the time with people you and go deep with the people that you know. Get belly with them, get to know them. Then and they will get to know you. And guess what? You could make a massive business as a real estate agent. You can make a massive business with the people you know right now.
Yeah, that's a really powerful observation. I hope that's not lost on the audience. And it comes back to we have a roadmap, and we particularly talk to business coaches about this. So I'll use business coaches as an analogy here. And the roadmap covers top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, existing clients, existing list, and or cold leads and or past prospects that you're currently not engaging with, and then community building. And there's a couple of others which I won't go into. I think that's enough. Every business pretty much has that same process. And what's happening now is they're so busy with the cold net new lead generation that they're not taking the time to strategically think about how referral marketing fits into every single one of those touch points with their clients. And as a result, they're actually leaving so much money on the table in missed opportunities because they're not being intentional and deliberate around
they're not
referral
helping
strategy.
the people that they know.
Well, even the cold leads that are coming in, they're not dealing with them in a way that can actually get referrals out of the right people and the wrong people.
And they're not helping the people they know. The people who trust in them to help them, they're not helping them.
They're not making it easy for them to help them. Yeah.
No. And the thing is, I mean, most of us get into business because we want to help people. We get in business and especially help the people that we really like and that we really know and that we really trust. We want to help those people. And so we get into business to do that. And then we start building up, we start getting into all of this like cold, terms of database management and, I want to do all my, spam emails, and I want to do all my, all these campaigns and all this stuff. And we forget about the number one reason why we got into business is with relationships with people to help them. And that's the whole idea of referrals is you're in the business of helping people. And sometimes you're going to be the right person to help them this time, but maybe today is the right time for somebody else to help them and just get them in connection.
Yeah. And getting someone the right connection just elevates your status dramatically.
Now, I know, one of the things that, and you alluded to this before, but I definitely like to promote things because, I like to shamelessly plug. There's two things I like to shamelessly plug is, if somebody's on one of our podcasts and they have a great product, I'll definitely support it. And the other thing I'll shamelessly plug is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So those are the two things. And so the first thing I want to definitely plug is, you referit.co.io. I got the name wrong.
Yeah. Let's just put some links because people are not going to remember. We'll just direct people into the
chat. Yeah. But let's talk a little bit about the design of that because I want to close off with that a little bit because I think it's an interesting little tool that allows people to simplify things because you can do a back of a napkin and it'll work just fine. You can use a spreadsheet and a spreadsheet works great. There's a lot of great CRM tools out there that can handle things. But if you want best of breed, for this specific element of being able to handle referrals and being able to track where referrals come from, where referrals are going out to, metrics for success. Talk a little bit about what you've built with the Refer It product.
Yeah, so the Refer It app, the problem we solve is what we spoke about before with sales account executives, business owners. They're out there running around in the community, spending a lot of time connecting in lots of different siloed networks. And then there's no clear process for all of those people to engage and then bring all of that referral process into one single space. You can DIY it and do the spreadsheet thing. You can DIY it and manage it through your CRM. The reality is most people don't do either. And there's a lot of engagement activity that the CRM never sees the light of day because there is a lot of development that needs to go around from a process perspective to get the whole referral marketing and networking optimized in a CRM. So we're pre-CRM and integrate into your CRM. So your sales guy gets a referred lead via our app. You can automatically push that into the sales pipeline without the rep even having to think about it. So he's gone out there, he's done all the hard work of getting the engagement, and now we've simplified the process, not forcing him to do data entry to get it into the system, into the CRM, into the pipeline to report up. Right. So
that's perfect.
Yeah. So we've created a scenario where, and you can do this within the free app, is bring all of your networking into a strategic system and process. And then we've automated and turnkeyed a lot of the follow-up and the scoreboarding that you mentioned before. How do you track success? What does success look like for you? And then how do you track it? So we've really consolidated the process, made it easy to execute on, and visibility around where are all my referred leads coming from? Who are they coming from? What are they worth to me? And then how am I following up on them? It's all in one place and all just run from your mobile phone, basically texting and emailing, but you're just using a different application to do it so that all the workflows are tracked.
Perfect.
Once an action happens.
That's awesome. Derek, man, it's been an absolute joy having you on the podcast and, breaking down all the different elements around what truly, is I think it's really valuable, those four things of the ICP, the IPP, IAP, and ICOI, because I think if you can really understand those four acronyms, you can really understand how you can be impactful in the relationships you can build around your business. And then you put that together with being able to understand how you're going to communicate, how you're going to collaborate with your clients and know the 3 C's around that. I think that's really important too. So I think you did a great job about being able to break that out so that people have a system and really at the principles level have a system of how they can operate. And then they can take that down and tactically apply that to their business. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. And Steve, I really appreciate you creating the space to have this conversation, because if there's one thing that businesses can really get leverage out of in 2025 from a growth strategy perspective, it's just tweaking some of these concepts and ideas into their existing marketing, sales, and customer service process, delivery process. They do that, they're just picking up a lot more revenue from their existing effort.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. Go for the low hanging fruit. You're not going to win prizes for climbing to the top of the apple tree if you're just getting an apple. Get the one that's right there at the bottom. Grab it. It's there, right there for you. Go get it. And with that, guys, this is the money. This is the mindset. This is the mentoring podcast. We'll see you on the next one.